And now, Move the Sticks with Daniel Jeremiah.
What's up, everybody? Daniel Jeremiah, joined by Bucky Brooks. We're going to get that fixed, by the way. Move the Sticks with DJ and Bucky, because Bucky is a permanent fixture here now on Move the Sticks. What's up, man?
How you doing?
I'm ready to go.
Let's get it.
We have a little bit of a bar to get over, because last week, our previous episode this week, we're doing 2 a week. Coach Billick was phenomenal. So
yeah.
if you missed that on the end of the Giants-Cowboys game, our earlier episode, Coach Billick had some great stuff to say, even some PG-13 language.
I know,
Coach, which is
pretty funny. But, it's funny because he talked about clock management and understanding. He also talked about quarterbacks. And so anyone who didn't get an opportunity to look at that should check that out, because it was a great episode.
No, it was a lot of fun. And I'm energized, not only because we have so much stuff coming up on this show, not only because we have a great slate of games this weekend, but I got to listen to some Naughty by Nature with Bucky before the show started, and that kind of got us got us ready to go. But to give you an idea of what we have coming up on the show, TD, what do we have, buddy?
All right, for today's show, guys, we're going to talk about a little bit about the AFC, and we're going to take some social media questions and Scout School. You know, I'm a big fan of Scout School. Week 2's best matchups, some rookies to watch. Be a fun show.
Yeah, we got a jam-packed show. And, Buck, first of all, before we get to this AFC East, we are going to continue to play the rest of the slate, right? Because I know after one game, some people have been put prematurely in the Hall of Fame. Other players are now all of a sudden no good. We are still going to run out the schedule, correct?
Yeah, we are going to run out the schedule. I think the big thing for the aspiring scouts and even the media scouts and all that, you kind of have to have perspective on how the process goes from an evaluation standpoint. We don't make snap-based judgments off one game. Typically with players, particularly players that are drafted in the early rounds, the first round, we give those guys 2 to 3 years before we make a solid assessment on what they're going to be. And so when we hear the snap judgments and evaluations on a Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota, we just need to pump the brakes a little bit before we make those decisions. Because look, Marcus Mariota was outstanding. But remember, RG3 was also outstanding. His first game, he had over 300 yards. His first year, he was 20-5 in terms of touchdown to interceptions. Let's just make sure we give them a little time to see how they react to what the league does when they make adjustments.
Yeah, this is a lesson that every young scout learns when you're in the National Football League, because you're so quick to want to figure out, did I get it right, did I get it wrong? So, as a first-year scout, you might start prematurely patting yourself on the back. It doesn't work out so well. As well as you can get really discouraged on a player, and then lo and behold, year 2, year 3, that's the guy you
That's the thing. They develop at different rates. And so you just have to kind of trust what you saw on tape. And we'll talk about tape watching later. But trust what you see on tape. Believe in the grade that you put on him. And look, at the end of the day, if you're wrong, if you didn't see him the way that he eventually plays, it's fine. You move on. You learn that lesson.
And trust me, out there, I want accountability, and I know Bucky does as well. If for any reason we ever tweet anything and try and pat ourselves in the back about a first or second year player, year 3, okay, we get away with it. But if we try and do that, you call us out every single time, because it drives me nuts.
Daniel's asking for the call out. I don't need the mentions in my timeline.
No, I don't.
You move the sticks, not at Bucky.
Can I pat myself on the back for Marcus Mariota? Because that's my boy.
Oh, so TD wants to do that.
TD wants to pat himself on the back after week 1. Yeah, after a half, he's ready to go ahead and say that he's super scout over there.
Well, I know Marcus has he uses a backpack. I'm not sure, TD. I don't think he can fit the entire Tampa Bay defense in that backpack
to take it when he goes to his next game.
But no, look, it was a good start for Marcus, and hopefully he keeps it up. He's a good dude. But AFC East is where I want to jump off in today's episode, Buck. And week 1 for these teams, undefeated. All 4 teams had big wins. I think probably the Bills win was the most impressive, what they did to the Indianapolis Colts. But you also had the Dolphins took care of business against the Washington Redskins. Patriots, it was a good game, a close game. Steelers missing a lot of pieces there as well. And the Jets took care of the Browns, which we knew would happen.
Yeah, we did know that. I think this division is compelling. We thought it would be one of the more interesting and intriguing divisions to watch, just because of the defensive personnel that is in the division, the defensive minds that are there. And I think it has certainly lived up to par. I'm excited to see the Patriots and the Bills because of the Rex Ryan, Bill Belichick factor. They always have very, very competitive games. I want to say the last 4 times they matched up, it's been decided by a total of 9 points, with the Patriots winning 3 of those against Rex. I think this game has the potential to be like one of they call a 5-star game.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to tune in and watch what goes on and takes place.
And Rex had an interesting quote, and I think some people think Rex is a blowhard. I don't. I think that's just the personality. You can see his players have been liberated to say whatever they want.
You say.
Just go for it. Put it out there. But Rex did make the comment, we're one of the teams that we don't get beat when we get off the bus against the Patriots. In other words, we don't walk in there, we don't fear them.
Absolutely.
And that to me has been the same thing with the Ravens. When the Ravens have gone up against the Patriots, there's no fear there. And you've seen some really, really competitive games, won some, lost some. But they're a team like the Texans that rolled through there. And the Patriots, that thing's over when they get off the bus.
Yeah, there's something to the mystique of taking on the Patriots, and there's something to what Rex Ryan does. And being very honest and blunt about how he feels about the Patriots, he has liberated his guys to feel like, look, they're just another team. They're a team that's in the way of our pursuit of a championship, and we're not afraid of them. We're not going to bow down and back down to those guys. And I think because they will take that attitude. And also, you talk about the Ravens. Those teams have been successful against them because they don't just kind of concede everything to the Patriots when they walk out.
Yeah, the marquee matchup in this game we're going to get to a little bit later on in the episode, and that's where we're talking about Gronkowski and Brady and that Pats offense going up against Rex's defense. But I want to start off flipping around the other side. The Bills offense going up against the New England defense. Tyrod Taylor. Bill Belichick, we know the game plan, right? It's always take away the one thing that you do best. In my opinion, I'm thinking this is going to start with keeping him hemmed in and contained inside the pocket. They're not going to let Tyrod Taylor run around the field.
No, I think you'll see a similar game plan to what you saw them do against the Seattle Seahawks. Try and rush to the edge of the pocket, force him to make plays from the pocket, try and prevent it. The challenge will be for the Patriots, not only in taking Tyrod Taylor away, can they stop that run game?
Yeah.
Because everyone talks about Shady McCoy, but the emergence of Carlos Williams gave them a big back with some speed and some power, a guy that is outplaying some of the expectations that followed him from Florida State. He's now beginning to look like a guy that can be a key contributor to that offense, and being able to use a two-prong attack could help them run the ball.
This sounds like blasphemy, but I think Carlos Williams, for his running style, is a better fit for what Greg Roman wants to do than Shady. Shady's a phenomenal player. He can play
it's different though.
But running style-wise, Carlos Williams is a beautiful fit for this team.
Yeah, it's a banger. In between the tackles, downhill runner. Look, still new. He's only played a position 2 years because he made a conversion at Florida State during his junior year. He is a guy that gives them size, gives them power, gives them speed. If they can run the ball with any level of success, I know they like their matchups on the outside. We saw Percy Harvin get over the top. Robert Woods is there. And look, they didn't even get a reception from Sammy Watkins. At some point, he has to break out. They have a lot of weapons in place, but it all starts in protecting Tyrod and Tyrod being able to make plays in the pocket.
Before we get to Jets, Colts real quick, Pats, Bills, winner, who do you like?
I like Buffalo in this one.
Yeah, I do too.
I like Buffalo in this one because they're playing at home. Look, Ralph Wilson Stadium has been bubbling up. You saw the energy against Andrew Luck. Now Rex has not only got the players to believe, the fans had some success against Andrew Luck, and they saw them beat the Colts. They're now beginning to believe that special things are about to happen. So I'm going to go with Buffalo in this match.
I think they come up and challenge those wide receivers, and I think the Bills get a win. We're going to revisit that game in just a minute. Jets, Colts. Colts was ugly. I mean, it was really, really, really ugly. And what happened with them against those Bills and Rex Ryan. Going up against the Jets this week, the secondary, you're going to see a very, very talented secondary. I don't think they're going to see quite the same front with Sheldon Richardson that they saw in Buffalo. How do you see this going?
You know, I think the Jets have the personnel to match up with the Colts, especially if T.Y. Hilton is not able to play. Look, Andre Johnson is a guy that I've loved for a long time, but he looked noticeably slower. He's not necessarily the same guy that he once was. Philip Dorsett is going through growing pains. So you got Dante Moncrief. So can they protect Andrew Luck well enough against what the Jets want to do? And can they get open? I don't think so. And then when it comes to the Jets being able to run the football, the way that you beat the Colts is you put them in a phone booth, you make it a street fight. We saw how they backed down a little bit against the Buffalo Bills. I think the Jets have the same ability to do.
I think this game, look, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I'm never going to be a big believer there. So
you don't like him? Yeah. You don't like the beard? You don't like smart guys at quarterback?
I guess Rich Eisen calls him Fitzmagic. But no, I think he's going to give away the ball a couple times. And I think Andrew Luck in this game, you're going to see him go back to a little bit of what he did in college. I think you're going to see him run the ball more. I think with the coverage, you're going to see a lot of man-to-man, which means you got a lot of backs to the quarterback. I think you'll see Andrew Luck with some opportunities to gain some ground, and he'll finish runs, too. He's ultra-competitive. I think Andrew Luck is a factor running the ball.
Well, I think he is a factor. I think he's going to have to be a factor because Todd Bowles and his defense coordinator, Casey Rice, they're going to dial it up, and they're going to force him to make some plays. I don't know if their guys on the outside can get open. So I like the Jets in this matchup. I like it because of their offense, really, because, look, last week, they were in four wides, 19 out of 60 plays. A lot of people didn't realize that. They averaged over 10 yards of play when they were in four wide sets. I think Fitzpatrick is going to dice them up on the outside. They're going to run the ball enough where they can control it, and then that defense is going to come through a couple big plays.
See, I think, and this is my pick here. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick throws the game-winning touchdown to the Indianapolis
other
Colts,
team?
and then that's why the Colts get out of there with a very, very narrow victory in that one. Now, this next thing we're going to do here, Buck, is something that we teased on Twitter through the hashtag out there, hashtag Scout School. And TD, you've opened the floor to the good folks out there on social media for some questions. And I thought TD maybe would get one question, maybe two.
Yeah.
Bucky, we've got like 45.
I know. We got a sheet full of questions, TD.
Here. So TD, I'll let you go here. What do we got?
Definitely, guys. And you know I'm a student of Scout School, but also too with Sully, fellow Seahawks fan.
Sully's getting in on this?
Yeah, man, he's getting in on this. So we're going to alternate with questions here, and we pull these questions from Twitter. Your comments, your questions. I mean, Chris Holcomb wants to know, could Tyler Eifert be the difference maker for the Cincy offense this year? What's your scout evaluation?
Tyler Eifert coming out, I had as one of the best 20 players in that draft. That draft was historically awful, as we know. That's look at all the flops that we've seen in there. Eric Fisher, Joe Cole up there at the very top. Deion Jordan's done nothing, and the list goes on.
Yeah.
But I thought he was a top 15 player. Hasn't been able to stay healthy with the Bengals. But Buck, you've got the size, you've got the catch radius. Very, very good athlete. I thought as a blocker, little bit inconsistent. But to me, when you have Andy Dalton, who doesn't possess a huge arm, has had those struggles in the postseason, he's got so many weapons now that are big physical guys, especially you get down in the red zone. We said it last week. We talked about Mohamed Sanu.
Yes.
Mohamed Sanu, you've got A.J. Green, now you've got Eifert. I mean, it's a basketball team, and there's a lot of room for error for your quarterback.
I mean, you made it really, really easy for your quarterback. And one of the things that I respect about Hugh Jackson is his ability to craft his offense to really help the quarterback go. Tyler Eifert in the middle of the field really expands the strike zone for Andy Dalton, gives him an opportunity to have a high completion percentage because that guy is really in the lanes, in between the hashes. It's hard to miss him. He's big enough to really overwhelm defensive backs. He has enough speed and craftiness to get past linebackers. And what we saw him do was control the middle of the field against the Raiders. That eventually leads to more opportunities for A.J. Green on the outside. I like what Tyler Eifert brings to the table, and I think we will see him become the second leading receiver on the Bengals offense because he's going to be a key factor in the game plan.
Before we get to the next question from Sully, I have one question for you, Bucky. Did you see the University of Tennessee blow that game last week?
I did. I know it was 17-3. I was kind of humming Rocky Top, and then it just absolutely fell apart.
And the roof caved in. Sully, what do you got for us back there, pal?
Ouch, guys. That hurts.
Oh, I forgot. I volunteer. I resident volunteer.
Man. Oh, I was singing Rocky Top hard.
Oh, man. That was a tough crash.
That was tough. All right, moving on. Let's change the subject here. Coming off the Eifert talk, Thomas asks, a lot of tight ends dominated in week one. Rank them, and what's the key trait for a tight end?
Go ahead, Buck.
I think if you're ranking the key traits that I look for in a tight end, the first thing I look for is I want an athlete. We've seen the game being taken over by these basketball player type athletes that have made the switch to the position. Well, I want a guy that can move down the field, that can high point balls, that has ball skills, that has the athleticism and wiggle to move away and separate from defenders. And if he can give me something in the run game as a blocker, I appreciate it. But now, the way the matchups are, we're seeing so many of these tight ends dominate as pass game difference makers that I just want a guy that's athletic, that can make things happen in the passing game. I want a tight end like that. I don't worry about the blocking. The blocking is secondary to me.
And to me, the most overrated aspect when you're evaluating a tight end is a 40 time.
Absolutely.
I do not care. I mean, because you can look at Antonio Gates, who's
Not
400
fast.
years old, Jason
Not
Witten,
fast.
400 years old, Tony Gonzalez, who played forever.
Yeah.
None of those guys are going to run fast on a clock. Several of them didn't run fast coming out.
No.
It's that subtle movement in that feel. It's a feel position for me. Being able to feel your way in zones, to be able to find space, that's instinctive. And then at the top of your route, to just have that short area quickness to be able to separate. And finally, even though a lot of these guys are flexed out and we're even splitting these guys out, there's still going to be times they got to work in the middle of the field. So you got to be tough. I don't need you as a blocker. That's a bonus. That's great if you can. There's very few that can. But you got to be able to work and catch the ball and take contact.
No, I think that's it. And because of the subtle movements, the nuance of the position, That's why the basketball guys are thriving. If you think about it, in essence, they're basically posting up guys. Absolutely. So their ability to feel bodies and kind of maneuver and manipulate their bodies in a way where they can box guys out in the middle of the field, that's the difference. That's why so many of the guys are deadly in the red zone. You think about that. I like to dig into their background and look at the bios. Most of them were standout basketball players. Even the guy that I think people are going crazy about right now, Travis Kelce.
Oh, yeah.
Travis Kelce is a guy that's coming on. He's a basketball player. Like, these basketball players have an advantage because they understand how to deal and live with contact.
So if I was going to rank the top 3 things, I would probably say ball skills, obviously. You got to be reliable. Yeah. That's the safety valve for your quarterback. Ball skills, I would say kind of that short area quickness, more so than speed. And I would say instincts would be my third one, just having a feel for zones, not running to get covered, being able to settle in soft spots. Those would be my 3.
I think those traits are paramount. You know, it's tough because now when I look at the tight end position, if I had to rank guys, it's so tough because I have an old vet like Antonio Gates that I still want to put in that mix because he's so good. There's Kyle Rudolph that I think deserves consideration. Julius Thomason, I'm not a big fan of, but the production says that he needs to be on that list. It's tough. Travis Kelce coming on. It's so hard to figure out.
Gronkowski's number 1.
I mean, like everyone knows that. That's the easy layup. I just, like those other guys, how you rank them, how you bring them in. I just know that in this league, we're talking about maybe the golden era of tight ends and the way they play the position.
Yeah, Eric Ebron had a nice game the other day as well. All right, TD, you up with the next question? What you got?
Hey, guys, I played some hoops in my day. Think I got a shot at tight end?
I can't call him by his other nickname on that other show.
My son, the 11-year-old league that he's in, TD, you could play some tight end.
All right, up next, Nat wants to know, Alex Smith looked good, but the 49ers have had more success with him, a quarterback, #Scout School.
Wow, you know what? I don't want to take anything away from Kaepernick for the Super Bowl run that he went on, but you know they were advancing deep in the playoffs with Alex Smith as well. You know what? I would say that's a tough question. I might lean towards saying they would be better off with Alex Smith in the long run. You know, I know he doesn't have the ability that Colin Kaepernick has, but with the defense that they had, with the running game that they still have, you know, having a guy that doesn't make mistakes, having a guy that can just get the ball out of his hands, don't take negative plays. I think that formula could have worked maybe even better than what the 49ers have got. Look, skill-wise, not close. Kaepernick is better in every single area. I might trust Alex Smith a little bit more, Buck. Maybe I'm crazy.
You know, it's tough because as they built the offense around Colin Kaepernick when he first took over, I would say absolutely I want Colin Kaepernick. If you're thinking about playing traditional football, then Alex Smith will be the choice. I'm a believer, though, that Colin Kaepernick will reemerge as the guy that's kind of like one of the next great quarterbacks to come. Part of that is because I have a huge belief in Jeep Chris, the offensive coordinator. If you look at the Monday night game, the way they played the game against the Minnesota Vikings, I saw an offensive coordinator that put his quarterback in a position to play to the strengths of his skills. So we saw a lot of movement passes. We saw some of the read option. And Colin Kaepernick is so good at not taking hits. I believe that right now, the way that offense is presently constructed, Colin Kaepernick is a better fit than Alex Smith, even though I think the world of Alex Smith as a player.
And I don't remember who we were comparing him to. We did the deal, I think it was last week, and we talked about safeties and who the best safeties were. TD was throwing out some questions, this guy or that guy. I don't know if I said I would take Harrison Smith, but trust me, after seeing what we did to Colin Kaepernick,
we talked about it.
I've changed my vote. So Harrison Smith, you win. You win. That was some nasty stuff.
He took shots, made big shots. Like, he's an underrated player. Not enough people know about what Harrison Smith is doing in the back end in Minnesota.
All right, well, let's go over to Albert Hainsworth from Tennessee for one more question. What do you got, son?
Speaking of questions, where did Harrison Smith go to high school?
Harrison Smith went to high school in Tennessee.
Knoxville Catholic.
Get out of here. I know he's from Tennessee.
Loaded
Why would he ask that question?
Loaded
Go ahead.
Okay, we'll keep it. We'll bring it back to QBs here. And David asks, why are NFL teams so content with having average talent at the most important position in the game?
There's not enough to go around.
There's not a lot of.
It's not like there's all these great quarterbacks. They're just out of work right now. Going, dude, why aren't they calling me?
Yeah, you know, I think that's the funny thing, and I think part of this has been driven by the fantasy football impact in terms of we all expect a quarterback has to be a good quarterback that throws for 300-plus yards. We've also heard that it's a quarterback-driven league, and you have to be able to put the weight of the team on your shoulders, when in reality, I mean, good teams play complementary football. I mean, they have a good defense, a good offense, they have a running game. They have the pieces in place to support them. You would like to have a guy that can get it done without all those other things, but the reality is they're like 4 or 5 elite quarterbacks and then a bunch of good quarterbacks, and you have to find a way to work with the quarterback that you have.
Yeah, it's all about finding that formula that works for your team. What do you need to do? I mean, we had Coach Billick on the day talking about when I was there, we won the division with Kyle Buller, 10-6 football team, and we found a formula. Run the ball. Jamal, I think, rushed for 2,000 yards that year, play great defense. You can win games. There simply aren't enough. And if you don't trust me, watch football on a Saturday and watch college football. And tell me where all these great quarterbacks they're coming from. There aren't any.
There aren't any. And I think what has to change in the NFL level, offense coordinators have to be more adaptable. Because looking for that guy that can stand back and stand in the grassy knoll and deliver those accurate throws and running a pro-style offense where you're doing full field reads and pure progression reads, it's going to be hard to find because in today's game at the high school and collegiate level, most guys are running the spread. And so if you're not willing to adapt and put some of those things in to help these quarterbacks, they all will struggle. You rarely get an opportunity to see these guys play in a pro-style offense, which is why people were excited about Jameis Winston's potential because he at least played in an offense that looked like an offense that's used on Sundays.
Speaking of Tennessee, by the way, University of Tennessee, TD's shirt today, if it was orange, it kind of looks like the end zone.
Kind of a little bit. A little checkerboard.
For the Volunteers. TD, what's up? What you got?
What's happening? Byron Maxwell, the new Eagles cornerback, didn't have his best game on Monday. So Justin asked, what was Maxwell technically doing wrong against Julio?
Bucky, you play the position. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, he was going against a grown man in Julio Jones. I think I may have disrespected Julio Jones by not including him in my top 3 in terms of guys at the position. And
I got a Harrison Smith do-over.
Maybe Worry got to Julio because he absolutely put on a show, dominated Byron Maxwell. I think the big thing for Byron Maxwell, when you go from being the guy that was the complimentary corner on the backside of Richard Sherman to now you're the number 1 guy, you're playing on the left side of the field, you're now getting all the stuff. You're facing the majority of the throws. Most quarterbacks are right-handed, so there's that. When I look at this, man coverage, he's playing to his leverage outside. Look, he didn't do anything technically wrong. We see the speed exposed because you're running a crossing route. Look, he's there. It's one of the things with the coverage. Here is where I'm more trouble. One-on-one coverage, left corner playing against Julio Jones. Love the initial jam. Everything is there. But look at where his head is. Looking inside at Matt Jones. If you're going to look, you want to look the other way so you can still gain ground. Because right after this is where Julio gets separation. But look, Matt Ryan delivered a dime. Yeah. And so sometimes they get you. I think he was in great position. He has to finish the play. And part of the way, the best way for him to finish the play in the right position is to turn his head the other way. Look inside, but look as you're going down the field. Don't turn back and look.
Yeah, you look over your outside shoulder, you hit the brakes on your feet.
Yeah, and that's what his feet stop.
Yeah.
And all it needs is a little bit of space because they pay those quarterbacks $20+ million to make throws in these tight windows like that. That's why.
Yeah, and this is what comes with it. You're going to get the big money. You're going to be the big-time corner. You're going to face the big-time
and that's the challenge because he was a right corner at Seattle. He goes to left corner. Guess who else had to do the same experiment, the same transition? Nnamdi Asomugha struggled a little bit.
I was there in Philly, trust me. It was
struggled a little bit. And it's different. And also, when you're the number 1 guy and you're not necessarily used to getting all the targets thrown in your direction, it takes a little more confidence, a little more focus and attention to detail. Byron Maxwell will be fine because I'm not troubled by those plays. He just has to finish the play and maintain the ability to stay in the right position.
All right, let's go to Todd Helton for one more question. What do you got?
Go Vols. One more. Paolo says, is there an ideal way to prep before you watch tapes? And what kind of information are you looking at?
Well, you can go back through some old Move the Sticks episodes from last year. And we went through, Bucky, I know you were in here for at least one of them, where we went through position by position, what you look for and what you're scouting. It helps if you just pop on the tape and you don't know what you're looking for. It's going to do you no good. Yeah. So you need to get some position-specific things you want to come away with. I mean, some of the generic stuff you want to come away with, you want to be able to know their athleticism at the end of the day when you watch their tape. You want to know if they're instinctive in terms of their natural feel for the game and their toughness. So we talk about speed, toughness, instincts. I talk about the STI index. Those are the 3 broad things you need to come away with. But inside that, for each position, there's definitely a checklist you need to go off of.
There are a couple of different things because this is we can do a whole episode on how to really study film as a scout. I think the big thing when it comes to film study is the thing that I do when I first watch tape is I put the pen down. I just kind of let the tape run. I try and get a feel in a sense for who the guy is as a player. I just kind of want to see some things. I notice the athleticism or whatever, but I try not to, from the first tape, write notes because I want to get a full picture of who the player is, not a snapshot. After I watch a game or so, then I start to hone in on those things that you talked about, the speed, the athleticism, how they play their technique. I'm a huge believer in production. I want to see the production on tape. If it's a DB, does he get his hands on the ball? Does he get more breakups than interceptions? How does he change the game? And really, having a nice knowledge of schemes. Just like a nice, solid football knowledge will give you a better understanding of what that team is asking the player to do and how he's executing within that scheme, and does his skills allow him to play in a scheme that's very different than what he's asked to play in college.
And develop your own shorthand. I mean, there's kind of a general shorthand for scouts in terms like you're watching offensive lineman, you're going to write OTG every time he's on the ground. So you can keep up with the tape, or it'll take you forever to break down tape. So you got to come up with your own little vernacular there in shorthand. The other thing I would say, my favorite tip that I got when I first started was get one of those old school pens that have the 4 different colors.
That's your thing. I've
love
seen you do that.
I love that. So you have the 4 different colors on a pen. Each game you play, so if you're doing a college game and you're doing Alabama, Ole Miss, you'll write Ole Miss at the top of your paper in red. And so then you take your notes, that's all in red. Now, the next week they play Mississippi State, you make it blue. So then when you go through your notes, you look at the top and you know who the team was that they played. There's nothing more frustrating than going, man, I know I saw this guy make plays on the ball. Oh, here's my notes. Okay, yeah, he had a pass breakup. Well, I have 4 games listed above. Who is that against? I don't remember who that was against. It's just a way to stay organized.
Also, you mentioned that. For me, I learned that you can't give a grade on a player until you've seen him in 4 games. You have to watch 4 games, and ideally, I like to watch him in big-time matchups. So in college games, I like to see him in either championship game, rivalry games, or against a marquee player on the other team that we can see him go against another like NFL comparison. And so watch him in 4 games, continue to watch them, and watch them at different parts of the season, because people talk about players changing. Sometimes guys are playing better at the end. Some guys have been hurt, and you don't know that they've been hurt. So make sure you watch them at different times throughout the year so you can get a full assessment of what they are.
And look, that's a nice little wrap-up on our first hashtag Scout School. We'll keep that
I got some
going.
more film study tips.
What do you got?
Don't watch movies pre-90s. If you haven't seen them, don't need to.
That's just...
All right. Go back and watch, after you've seen a movie, go back and watch a trailer and see what scenes were cut out, what storylines are cut out. It's a good way to sort of see what was left on the cutting room floor. My film study tip.
Very, very interesting, TD.
Speaking of movies, what's the next segment?
I like you volunteering that information. That's hashtag Scout School. We'll continue to bring that back. And this has nothing to do with the guys behind the glass, but the next thing we're going to do here is what we did last week, and that's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Got a little music.
Yeah. Speaking of movies.
But it's not. You realize this is not like the real Western music, because it's like the knockoff version.
Yeah.
This is like a commercial. This is like an Arby's commercial. Come on.
The more we can pay for, man. The more we can pay for.
Or it's like Carl's Jr., like a Western cheeseburger.
I know.
Something like that.
That's what that is.
Oh, that's great. All right, so good, bad, and ugly, Bucky. Let's go through some matchups here. First of all, your good matchup of the week.
Good matchup is the marquee matchup. It's the headliner. Rex Ryan taking on the New England Patriots, Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. How do you slow these guys down?
I don't want a cheeseburger.
You know, look, Carl Jr., maybe we can get them to sponsor the segment down the road. When I think about Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, everyone knows that the ball is going to the tight end. We know what Gronkowski has been able to do. I want to say 57 career touchdowns, a dominant player. But I looked up in the last 4 matchups against Rex Ryan defenses. He's only averaging 11 yards per catch. He has 4 touchdowns. The Bills are going to make a concerted effort to take him out of the mix. And they have to figure out, will it be their linebackers that knock him around and jam him and make it very difficult for him to get into a rhythm, or will they drop one of their defensive backs down and try and find a way to shadow him and harass him? The big thing is you have to be able to get Tom Brady off the mark, off the spot, while also taking Rob Gronkowski away. I believe with that front 4, they definitely can get after Tom Brady. But one of those defenders, be it a defensive back or a linebacker, has to be committed to knocking Rob Gronkowski around. If not, he's going to absolutely torch them like he's torched so many others.
Can I make my prediction right now? And you can play this back and laugh at me if it doesn't happen, but this is my prediction in this game. You will see at least multiple snaps where he will line up 2 defenders like it's a punt.
Yeah.
Over Rob Gronkowski. A man on each shoulder, and it's going to look weird. It's going to look like, what are we doing here? Rex will do some unorthodox stuff. I could see them flexing him out. I could see Rex running a linebacker out there to try and get hands on him at the line of scrimmage with a corner lined up right over the top of Gronk. I mean, I've seen Rex do everything. I've seen Adalius Thomas when I was with him in Baltimore as a 270-pound hybrid end linebacker walk out with the wide receiver. So he's going to do some different stuff.
Now, I'm going to point you to a guy that could do that role and could play that role. Manny Lawson.
Yep.
Manny Lawson was a good athlete coming out of college. Look, he's been in the league for 8 or 9 years now. He's a guy that has that versatility that can walk out there and do some of those things. You alluded to putting those two defenders on there. That is a staple in a Romeo Crennel defense. I wouldn't
do it
be
against
surprised.
Tony Gonzalez.
Absolutely. Vice him up. Say, look, Tom, he's not
happening.
even in the mix. We can go somewhere else with that.
Yeah, you're going to make you go somewhere else. All right.
Speaking of cornerbacks, though, Stephon Gilmore of the Bills says, hey, he wants to come out there and cover Gronk. Any chance?
Stephon Gilmore is an up-and-coming player. He's a guy that's really, really good. I just don't know if he has the size to deal with all the stuff that Rob Gronkowski brings. I think you can do it on occasion, but I don't think a steady diet of Stephon Gilmore of Rob Gronkowski is what the Buffalo Bills necessarily want to do.
Is there any cornerback that has a really good chance of Gronk?
I would say Brandon Browner would be a guy that I would think about using just because of the size, the length, and the familiarity that he has in watching him practice every day. But no, I don't think a cornerback or someone.
Here's a trick question: Who has done the best job against Rob Gronkowski? I think we talked about this earlier today.
No, who?
Deion Jordan.
Really?
Remember, I mean, Deion Jordan's out. He's suspended right now. He's been a colossal flop. But there was one game, and I think it was in Miami, and he's long and he's tall and he can run, and he kind of mirrored Gronk all over the field in that game.
I can see that. You know, that's why I'm kind of pointing to Manny Lawson as a guy that may be able to do it. He's long, he's rangy, he's a better athlete than most people really know. He might be a guy that gets that task to kind of knock him around a little bit with a little safety help over top.
All right, Buck, my good matchup is a corner that we didn't mention when we went through that corner episode, and I tried to tell everybody, look, we're not going to be able to get to everybody.
Can't
on
get
this,
to
the top
everybody.
guys. But Josh Norman, a player out of Coastal Carolina with the Carolina Panthers, just continues to get better and better. Had a pick six last week against Bortles. I'm intrigued to watch him go up against Nuke Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins, it was an ugly game for the Texans offensively. Eventually, though, they got him involved. He made some big-time plays, high-pointing the ball down the field. He's as good a young receiver as we have. I can't wait to watch these guys tangle together.
You know, I like Josh Norman. I also like the guy on the other side there. You see a young Ben Wickery. I like the young corners. Steve Wilkes does a great job of preparing those guys. And what they're going to do is they have to put their hands on Nuke Hopkins. They have to make it tough. They have to challenge him. They have to find a way to make him work for every yard that he gets. If Brian Hoyer's in the game, I feel really confident they can snuff him out. If Ryan Mallett is on the field, however, I think they'll get a little more work on the outside. They'll be challenged more. But look, that is a nice matchup and under-the-radar matchup to watch. Look, I need Nuke Hopkins to make some points because he's on my fantasy team. But this is something that we should definitely keep an eye on.
And this is what I like when you watch Norman is when he's in off, his ability to see through the wide receiver to the quarterback, be able to understand the depth of the drop of the quarterback, put your foot in the ground and go. And he did that.
Yeah, I know. I like that clip pick six. I even liked him a little riding the pony a little bit at the end.
A little genuine.
A little genuine.
I could not get genuine out of my head after he did that dance.
So now my bad matchup. I know the Washington Redskins fans feel like I'm picking on their offensive line, but I am. I don't think their offensive line is very good, with the exception of Trent Williams. I'm going to go with the Rams defensive line against the Redskins offensive line. We saw.
We're going to kill the Redskins O-line every week.
Well, I'm just saying, I can't make the schedule, but we saw the Rams defensive line absolutely get after the Seahawks. I think it even gets worse against the Washington Redskins. Robert Quinn, Aaron Donald, Chris Long, Michael Brockers. I think that front line on their own without blitzing can dominate. And then when you have a Greg Williams team, that likes to dial it up and really come after people, I think it could be ugly in the nation's capital. I think the way they will come and attack, I think it might be tougher than the move football.
Yeah, I don't need to dissent with anything that you just said there, Buck. So I'm just going to move on to mine. And I'm going to go to, I have this as bad, but it definitely qualifies as ugly, and that's Drew Brees going up against the Tampa Bay Bucks. Their back end, their linebackers, their secondary. We saw last week Marcus Mariota toy with those linebackers with all the ball fakes. Now you're going to see Drew Brees toy with the safeties in the passing game. And unless they get a pass rush, unless Gerald McCoy, just has a monster game and they can get to Drew Brees, I know your boy Brandon Cooks, he didn't have a huge game last week. Well, he's fixing to have a big one this week.
Oh, I like that. I like fixing to, too, because I need him to have another big game because he's on my fantasy squad as well. I need my young guys to step up. I got to go 2-0 in my fantasy leagues. Brandon Cooks is someone that could have a big day. They have to find a way. If I'm Tampa Bay, you got to find a way to knock these wide receivers around, disrupt the timing. You have to get off Drew Brees. We talk about Drew Brees kind of taking a notch down or coming back to the pack as an older player. Part of the reason that Cardinals were able to have success, they were able to get a rush. They have to be able to do that in Tampa. If not, they have no chance.
Buck,
You know why Brandon Cooks didn't have a good game last week?
Oh.
Because of my boy, Patrick Peterson.
Did you see the highlight of him going over the top on Patrick Peterson?
He got him one time.
It counts. I'm just saying, did you see that? You see that highlight? Come on.
He defends
shut down corner means you shut them down. He didn't shut Brandon Cooks down.
It's the risky you play the corner position. That
Can you
like getting dunked on every now and then if you're a shot blocker.
TD, having grown up Nigeria, can you give me the proper definition? Do you know this of fixing?
It's a couple different ways because it depends on context.
Yeah, no, that's what
Could also be fitting if you want to throw fitting out there, but we're gonna go fixing.
I would say needing something, right?
Oh, come on, TD. Fixing to means I'm about to. I'm getting ready to. Like that's one way. Or it's a side. Oh, do you want a fixing?
Oh, yeah.
I want some chicken with a fixing. What's my fixing? Yeah, come on.
Yeah, potatoes.
Like, you got to spend more time in the South.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry I was international, okay? And I moved over.
You got to spend some time in the dirty.
I am from Atlanta.
All right, hey, TD, we're fixing to move on. Let's go on to the ugly, Bucky. I don't know how you're going to get uglier than Breeze versus the Bucks, but go ahead.
I'm going to go ugly. Johnny Manziel versus Dick LeBeau's Titans defense.
And you did it. I challenged you, and you delivered.
And a part of the reason is not necessarily because of the talent that necessarily Tennessee brings to the table, but the scheme, their ability to bring pressure in a number of different ways that confuse Jameis Winston. I like what Johnny Manziel was able to display early in the game, threw the ball on rhythm. They spread him out. They gave him some easy looks, got it out of his hands. But now that the team knows that he's playing, he's going to see a bevy of blitzes thrown in his direction. How he reacts will determine if the Browns are able to stay in this game. I'm encouraged, but it could get ugly.
I want to clear something up on Johnny Manziel because this is what's great about Twitter is that you get a lot of interaction and people, they question you, doubt you, or they just don't get it at some point in time. And this is a situation where that happened. There's a disconnect because I said on here in the earlier episode that Johnny Manziel can't see. And he struggles to see inside the pocket. And people, some fans on Twitter, blew me up and said he played behind everybody on his offensive line in college is playing in the NFL. It was one of the biggest offensive lines. He didn't have any trouble then. Well, yeah, they were running a completely different system. It's catch and throw from the gun. And also he was free to escape. A lot of his big plays were him running around. And I look back in my notes at A&M, and there were several times when he's in the pocket and he's got his first read, he passes it up because he couldn't see in college either. The only difference is when you're in the NFL, you don't have 8 seconds to run around and buy that time. So being able to see has always been an issue for him. And the other thing they say is, well, Drew Brees is short. He doesn't have a problem. Well, Drew Brees and Russell Wilson have a more natural feel for sliding and moving within the pocket. Sometimes it's not about being athletic and being able to get out of there. It's about finding a window within the frame of the pocket, and that's something Johnny Manziel just not able to do right now.
What I saw in the game against the New York Jets, when he was at his best, when they spread the field, they would go, sometimes they would empty the formation out. Sometimes they would have 4 wide receivers, 3-by-1 on one side. So it's spread out so he can see and identify where the rushes are coming. Also, when you spread the field and do some of those things, the Y-stick combination where you have someone running quickly to the flat and a tight end or a slot receiver running a 6 or 7 yard grab, ball can come out of his hands really quick. If I'm the Cleveland Browns and I'm building my game plan this week, I want a lot of quick rhythm throws.
Yeah.
Catch, throw, because that's what he did at Texas A&M. Also, the other thing, sometimes I don't understand why offensive coordinators ask guys that are smaller to play in a traditional sense in terms of playing in the pocket. Let's get them on the move. Yep. Let's sprint them out.
Change the launch point.
Change the launch point. Look, we saw the San Francisco 49ers do that with Colin Kaepernick, not because he's big, but because he's not real comfortable being right in the pocket. Let's get him on the move. Let's shrink the field, have field reads. Johnny Manziel can have more success if you allow him to do it that way.
All right, my ugly matchup, and this is a tough one for Mike Remmers, the right tackle for the Carolina Panthers. He gets J.J. Watt. Ooh. So I guess they've said now Eric Fisher did not have the Watt flu. Apparently he did not. It was,
yeah, the Watt flu.
That's all been debatable, I guess. But he did not play last week against J.J. Watt. I know they lost, but Watt still was ridiculous. I think he had 9 tackles and 6 tackles for loss in the game against Kansas City. So Mike Remmers got his hands full, Buck.
He does have his hands full. But I don't know if anyone was paying attention on that play that we just saw. They would have witnessed Jadeveon Clowney.
Oh, yeah. He's
the
set
one
up
that everyone
stuff.
is beating everybody else.
He buzzed by him.
He absolutely obliterated a tight end on that play there. But no, J.J. Watt coming off the edge is going to be a problem. For the Carolina Panthers, I say the magic number is 17. The magic number is 17 because if their defense gives up more than 17, they won't win games.
Yeah.
That's how tight it is because their offense don't have a lot of explosive playmakers on the outside. Defense has to keep it below 17 for them to win.
And I think Cam had 16 carries in that game. That's not – Cam is a monster. He is enormous, the biggest human beings you'll ever see at that position.
Single wing.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't know 16 games, 16 carries.
That's a lot of carries.
That's a lot of carries for Cam Newton. So I'd be interested to see in that game. Should be a pretty intriguing matchup. Now, I think, Bucky, what do we got coming up next? You're running the show here.
Okay, here we go. We got Scout Sleepers in week 2. Who is the guy that is going to surprise people with his production this week? I'm going to let you go first.
I'm going to go to a guy I talk about all the time on here, and that's Shane Vereen, running back for the New York Giants. And because you're going up against the Atlanta Falcons, we saw the Eagles didn't even attempt to run the ball, but they did throw the ball to their backs a lot. And so there's some opportunities there. Croy Bierman for the Falcons got isolated in coverage. God bless him. He's got no shot against Shane Vereen if they can get that schemed up and get some shots down there. I could think this could be a game where somebody like Shane Vereen gets you 8 or 9 catches in this ball game.
You know, I like Shane Vereen. I like what he brings to the table, gives them a different dimension out of the backfield, a guy that can catch it, a guy that you can really displace and do some one-on-one things. As they continue to get going in Ben McAdoo's offense, that is really a quick rhythm offense designed to get the ball out of Eli Manning's hand, I think Shane Vereen could be a factor. I think that's a compelling matchup to watch.
All right, who you got, Bucky? What's your sleeper?
You know, I'm going to go Dallas and Philadelphia. Look, with my man throwing up the X being out, Terrance Williams has to step up and show that he can be a number 1 receiver for the short term. The Dallas Cowboys threw a ton of balls outside. I want to say Romo completed 22 of 23 passes to his running backs and tight ends, but they have to be able to push the ball outside the numbers. Terrance Williams has to be able to get open and do that. Look, he's probably going to face Byron Maxwell. He has to be able to get off press and show that he can work. He's had some success in the past. Let's see if Terrance Williams is ready for big time right now.
And I want to see him if Des Bryant throws up the X, maybe he throws up the W.
He might.
Williams, that's what he has to do. Just get that W, shoot that thing out there. Let's market this thing a little bit. Now we go to rookies to watch, Buck. Quick, you've got one, I've got one. I think did we hit on this? One of these ones, but I don't know what it was rookies to watch. Something TD, we hit on something. So go find that and make us look smart next week. Buck, who you got rookie to watch?
Vic Beasley against the New York Giants. Eric Flowers. Look, Eric Flowers is a guy coming out. We thought that he probably should be a right tackle just because of the way his footwork and athleticism is. I think moving him to the left side, he now has to face those premier speed pass rushers. I think it could be an issue for him. Vic Beasley has speed. He has the ability to collapse the pocket from off the outside. He is someone that could give him fits with his initial takeoff. Eric Flowers, Vic Beasley, the winner of that matchup could determine who ultimately wins that game.
Yeah, familiar with each other, old ACC matchup there. I'm going to go to David Johnson, the rookie for the Arizona Cardinals. Going to get more opportunity this week with Andre Ellington suffering a knee injury. David Johnson, we watch him in college, Buck. We've talked about it before. He's got outstanding hands. There's a game against Iowa. I think he caught 12 passes. He can really, really catch the football, and he got one opportunity to catch the ball against the Saints, and he turned it into a 55-yard touchdown. So I think he's going to get an opportunity not only in the passing game, I think he's going to run the rock a little bit with Chris Johnson. I think this is definitely a rookie to watch this week.
I think he is someone to watch. The big thing that surprised me about David Johnson, you think it's a small man that is coming out of the backfield with that
225
speed. 225 pounds with big-time speed, nice hands. He's someone that they can use. He should spell Chris Johnson because Chris Johnson at this point is a guy that you maybe can get 12 to 15 carries. David Johnson will be a bigger factor with Andre Ellington out. He might add a little something to the offense that's been lacking.
Bucky, you got Marcus Peters right last week.
That's what it was. You got a pick.
Got a pick right out the gate.
Snap.
He also gave up 2 tubs, but that's all right.
Yeah,
no one cares about the bad.
So, good stuff.
No, it's
Amir Abdullah, too. Got a touchdown on his first carry. So, good stuff, guys.
Well, you going to bury that? You're just going to, throw that in at the end?
Who'd you throw in there? Who?
Amir Abdullah, was that mine?
That was DJ.
That was your guy?
Yeah, so you got a pick, and my guy scored a touchdown. What do you want from us, TD?
My guy had 4 touchdowns in the first half. Marcus.
You were. Hey, all I know is here's TD last week. I think Marcus. I like Marcus. I think.
Yeah, come on, man.
And then this week, I love Miles all in. Marcus is going to be the best player of all time.
Say it with your chest. Be big. Own it.
Quiet assassin, man. Quiet end of the NFL.
Oh, there you go. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes this week, TD. Hey, I want to remind everybody, we talked about it earlier, but Coach Billick was so good. If you missed that, be sure to go back on YouTube and watch the previous episode of Move the Sticks and subscribe. That's the easiest way, the best way to get this show consistently on iTunes, on YouTube, and leave some comments there. I think we're close to a benchmark there. I don't know if it's 200 comments or something, but hopefully you guys help us get over the hump there. And keep sending in your questions. Use that hashtag, hashtag Scout School. We ripped off a bunch of them today, so do that next week as well, and we'll be back Monday and next Wednesday, Buck.
Yep, let's get back to work.
We got 2 episodes in the book this week and a great weekend of football ahead. Thank you for watching. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for downloading Move the Sticks with Daniel Jeremiah. For more, go to NFL.com/podcasts.